all ISDN line is 0, all analog line is 2. Sometimes you really have to, if you have face a problem with this kind of problem. By the way, SIP here as well. Because in SIP, I don't expect a second dial tone. It's a SIP message, right? I don't expect someone to send me a dial tone over a data package, right? Don't go deep in details, but what I really need you to, I'm trying to add more information. I'm adding to your blood some extra sugar units to feel the sweets of NEC, but this is the only used types. In my installation, even in Netherlands, I mainly use 1, 2, 3, 4. The other type I hardly use. But mainly, most of the installation, even one day, inshallah, after you start to practice more of the system, you will create your own templates. And you will notice that you will use only 2 of these. So what I'm trying to say is just to improve your knowledge about NEC. If you go for a customer, knowing all of this, the customer will feel that, he's confident about his product. He knows what about his product. There's a second parameter, which is the signal selection. What kind of signal you are going to send? Is it a CCIS? Is it ISDN? Is it a watch button? Is it a dial pulse with the old rate? Is it MFC? Multi-frequency control that, in Europe and some Asian countries, they are using multi-frequency. It's not an analog line. It's a kind of analog DID, which was using MFC. Mainly, we use push button and dial pulse. Most of the carriers start to ignore the dial pulse. Most of the carrier. I mean, for the carrier who's using analog trunks, they start to ignore the dial. They only depending on the push button or the DTMF signaling. But you have a parameter here to decide. Some ISDN, some kind of ISDN for some military application, they say, okay, you are working ISDN with a push button, like overlap sending. So they are creating 2 kind of components in the same line, because to make it very difficult to intrusion this kind of ISDN in any kind of interface. We are talking about the outgoing, now we talk about the incoming call. What I expect when I receive a call from outside world. Is it ISDN call? Is it a ring down? I will ring that on. Or again, I need to have a wink start. Someone, wink wink, I'm here. Also, what kind of dialing does the PBX accept from the ISDN, from the outside world? And it's really done with the CCI, with 2 parameters. As you can see, it's a dial pulse or push button or CCIS or ISDN. Trunk function, CM5. In the old days, we are also depending only on the COT. So imagine that you have a 95 installed in premises, you have 3,000 users, and you have only 16 trunk. For 3,000 users, yes. That means all the time my route is busy. If anyone calls my office, he always receives a busy tune, because 16 trunk is not enough. I can manage my local users with restriction, but again, they are 3,000 users. That means out of 3,000 users, I can have only 16 concurrent. So I have to think again about my incoming calls. This option was to set up. My route is only incoming route. That means I can divide the 16, 8 for incoming and 8 for outgoing. That means outgoing route is only booked for outgoing. I will ignore all the signal related for incoming. And incoming, I will ignore anything related for outgoing. Both ways the most common, but still, from engineering point of view, in a network, you have to think really carefully. What could be my design if I have a multiple route? So I have to decide carefully. Do I need to implement this? If you really feel that you implement it, do it. Now, the number of ISDN channel is increased, and also you can imagine that single MGSIP can go with 128 channel, and then NEC already decided to release 254 trunk per route MGSIP. So you can take one MGSIP with this huge number of trunks, which was impossible with the COT. You needed to have a lot of BIRs. So this kind of parameter maybe depend on your trunk size, and also depend on type of trunk you have.
But if this is done by the carrier, means they are already giving 16 incoming and outgoing, even then we have to think of.
Yes, in some carrier, Abdullah, they don't do this at all.
See,
Yeah, let's say
in
that-
our scenario, they are giving us
Yeah.
16 incoming and 16 outgoing, so we don't have to care about
Yes,
this.
but in most, Saudi more or less is a developed country regarding the telecom. But if you look for all the African country, or the East European country, even Middle Asian country.
And his question also, if it is divided into incoming this channel, outgoing this channel, we have to map correctly this. Our one is this 615 is incoming.
We can simply, what Abdullah said, is for this outgoing route, you will not receive any incoming signal from the carrier
Yes.
themselves. You no need to ignore from your side.
Yeah.
It will be just incoming. So, what only outgoing? If you have incoming call, it's not even coming to this. Don't really need to take care about incoming call signal for the outgoing route from your side. But again, not everywhere. If you have a network, think about the system, handle their route. You have to be very careful for kind of calls for each and every tenant group, or a user group, or a MID group. So keep this in your. TCL is here the entry what kind of display in the D term you will receive. D term again is the NEC digital terminal or in the attendant console. What you like to see based on in the screen. If you set 1, that means it's a DDD. It's a direct network DL via ISDN. If it's a CCIS or announcement trunk or ELM, you will receive a tie line. If it's a CCA, DTI lines, you will have to set 5. It's again what you will see on the screen. Most of the scenario, CDN7 is 1. That means I need to identify who's calling me. Trunk release party. This is also something tricky. This also come from military prestige. That I call you. Who close first? Calling party should close first, not me, because I'm in a lower position than my boss, so I cannot close the line in their face. So it was coming from a military protocol, and it was really required in the old days. Who will close the line? But nowadays, yeah, I'm asking only for the first party. So whoever close, it's fine. There was a lot of other options, by the way, for this index, but I see remove all of them. Because there was some prestigious things for call party hangoff signal. Both calling and call party reverse polarity signal. A lot of things, but I just remove all of this since it's not really. But again, you have to use the release signal based on the first party release, which is more logical. The queue signal, you really need a queue. That means if I have a fully booked route, do you need that your call queue till someone finish the call or not? You have to decide. CDR10 is rated for SMDR, session message recording, and there is many other SMDR parameters. I need to make a total billing, I need to make a split billing, I need to have a incoming and outgoing tandem. It's really wide subject, but this is in concept allowing or not allowing to have SMDR in this room. Total denial battery, always set it to 0 because no one nowadays using total denial battery solution in the COT trunks. Distinctive ring is mainly used for COT, that means this kind of ring pattern that can be distinctive to send the caller ID in the right format. In the ISDN and the CCIS, caller ID message will come in the data channel, but here you really need to have a kind of right signaling to receive the caller ID. May I remember the last case? We have it in Ahwaz. I think it was related for this. Flexible routing are if you have route number A, which is COT, route number 2 is ISDN, route number 3 is CCIS. Do you want to make a flexible routing of this filled or not filled? This item is really done for the dummy route. The dummy route, the route where you You remember what I was saying in the last time?
Dummy is dummy.
Dummy is dummy. It just part the digit. And in this dummy, it have only one intelligence to do a flexible routing. In the first basic course it was dummy, but now it's intelligence to do flexible routing. It will bar the digit and ask, are you there? No, I'm busy. Are you there? No, I'm down. Are you there? Yes. So send me the digit. So dummy root is not dummy. Dummy root is able to do flexible routing. Clear? Every time you learn new things, the truth change. For the people who will attend, inshallah, hospitality course one day, they were really surprised that a lot of things in the system I was not writing down until inshallah, for the people who will handle the hospitality course. Also, here is an important thing which really decide which kind of line signal we have. Is it a COT with this kind of ground star, loop star? It's really important to decide for some E&M trunks and also for COT. This kind of parameter really make changes, really make difference. You could go with E&M, but you will have only dial pulse. But if you change it to loop star as an E&M, it will be fine with push button. Mainly these two types are really used. 12 and 13 are used mainly for ISDN, CCIS, and MGSID as well. Do you expect an answer signal? Answer signal mainly for lines where I have a control channel like CCIS, ISDN. So always one for tie line and ISDN. Answer signal from the trunk side, as I said, it's mainly for CCIS and ISDN, and the other type is here. Here you will find a template that you already see. This is a page from the manual showing you an example. If I have a CCIS voice, it's a LG, which is a kind of the signal is data and voice. Here is a template, but this template is not really fit for our region. Maybe it's not fit for your country. So in ARTD or ARTDN, you can use an EC template, or it's the time to create your own template. I allow you in the first course to use the template. Now is the time to create your own template. You can start to use the good example of the template, but you have to do your own template again. I will give you a nice example. If you have ISDN route, by default, the route is made for T1. So to use this, you have to. It's T1. It's American Standard 1T4 channel. We don't have T1 here. So you have to modify it. You have to type it in your way with an E1.
E1.
Yeah, E1 in Jordan, E1 in Iran, E1 in Saudi, E1 in Qatar. You have to really make it by yourself. Because not every time you need to spend 5 or 15 minutes or 5 days to decide which parameter you are going to use with your carrier. You have to do it once and keep it safe in your BC Pro. Because you don't know when the next installation will happen. So make yourself ready. Is the parameter. As I mentioned, you have to use ARTDN, the standalone system, and don't forget the way how to change. Here you can read the value, press enter, then you come here and change. Some people was changing only up, and it never happened. That happened here. Right, Abdullah? He was changing here. The truth here you can read, but here you can modify. Here is your templates. You can use as a starter, and dummy is always required for LCR, and a few parameters that you have to touch. For your customized template, you can create, for example, your name, BRI special, and you can check these templates here in these folders, and you can see the name. For example, if you want to format your PC, you can extract this template and use it later from another PC. And the template is valid for IMS, IBX, SV7000, SV85, SV95. All have the same BC Pro. Next step is ARTN, because I have to make a kind of matching between my logical network data memory and my data memory. So this is the command we have, and check with Abdullah again. That he's from the network data memory and myself from the data. It's very important that you have to verify that ARTD and ARTDN have the same data. If there is a mismatch between these two data, it will be difficult. Let me tell you the story. In the basic course, I tell you, do ARTD, ALRTN, ARTDN, because this is the way that I want to teach you. Now, you are well aware about ARTDN. So once you did ARTDN, ALRTN, the data automatically will copy to ARTD. Automatically. But again, verify that this is happening or not. Verify. If you don't verify, because you cannot go for two commands to set up. You need only to go for ARTDN.
If it is not copied, what is the problem?
That means you already do the changes before you, after you assign manually in ARTD. So the data will not be copied. You have to delete ARTN and assign it again, so the data will be copied. That's why in this training I just made ARTD and only. I know. That's why I say write down in the paper ARTD, ALRTN, ARTDN. I faced this problem in the old days. I can't tell you, I spent 3 months. The one problem, that was my mistake. I was writing in RTD and I forget that I assigned ARTDN. 3 months.
What if I use from the beginning, just ARTDN?
Good question.
Yeah.
You cannot. Because ARTDN is a logical presentation. It's not a real presentation. The real root assigned in ARTD. So if you start with ARTD alone, it's fine enough. But since you have started to use the network data memory, you have to make a logical relation between both.
So I have to use both?
If you just go back, ARTD must have the same info. You really do the assignment in ARTD, but it's presented in the network data memory. So once it's presented in the network data memory, it's automatically copied to the data memory. But there should be one command, which ALRTN, which yes, exactly. Later on, because of the applications, NEC come with ARTIN, which was not there in the IBX, which was not there in the first versions of SV7000. ARTIN is came for the applications like QSIG, its addressing, and many other parameters. And again, we started with a very limited number of ARTIN parameters. Very limited, and now it's very long. Let's say that I have a root of SIP and this connected to the video conferencing solution. So I need to decide if this video conferencing solution requires TCP video or not. So I have to set in my root parameter an application that is capable to send the video. Or I have ISDN, and ISDN, if you just recap what we discussed this morning, we talk about ISDN signaling, type of signaling, incoming, outgoing. This can be all implemented in any kind of media converter. Can be UG50, can be MBC chases, can be BRTA card. All these parameters for ISDN. But how can I decide which kind of media converter I'm using? Which kind of card I'm using? It's through the ARTIN. Main uses for type of number, TON and MBI. Anyone use you remember in Jordan the case that we have for the number representation. And we could identify later with the local carrier there that they're using very specific type of number. So once we decide to use the same in the ARTIN, the problem solved. So it's a question, important question to know your carrier or the system when you connect it through QSIG have the same type of number or not. Simply, in the simple word, it's unknown. That means I expect anything from anyone and I send anything from anyone. But for some scenarios, it's not possible. For Air Forces, it's not allowed to use anything except the subscriber. It's not allowed because they expect if you are able to play with the type of number, you can call the Air Force to start an attack somewhere, which is not true. Advice of charge is very important service. If you remember the old days, if I have hotel and they make a call, the carrier will start charging you from the moment that the call starts to ring. So in the analog trunks, we have a reverse polarity. The polarity once the other guy answers will be reversed, so I can answer. In ISDN, we have advice of charge. You will receive a price per unit from STC, a price of per unit from Orange, and based on that, you will receive an indicator saying that, Mr. Atif, you already used 20 units. Maybe the call duration is 2 minutes, 120 seconds. But Etisalat will charge you for 20 units. And the unit price is very specific and it's even accurate. And the charges of the units based on the duration of the talk, of the call, not based on the ringing duration. So it's very important. As far as I know, it's a paid service. It's a paid service because Etisalat is bluffing you here and there with a single dirhams from here and there. So you create a lot of money for the people who don't use advice of charge. It's addressing clock, which is a connected number display. It's not a service that you see it every day in the carriers, but if you are connected to Nortel system, Nortel they have a powerful interface with connected number display. So if Nortel send me a call from Nortel extension to Nortel operator and the operator called me, I could see the guy who called me really, not the operator who transferred the call for me. So called connected number, to whom I am connected. I think I see it in Austria and Belgium, they have a connected number display, even for the stations. That means I'm talking over the carrier, but I can see the internal caller who called me. Even I can see his name. And many others, like overlap sending, overlap receiving, and if I use a media gateway or. Again, data memory and network data memory. Once we did ALRTN, you have to do ARTIN only. And the data automatically copied to the ARTI. AutoSend trunk, ARTK, ATRK, or CATK, or Quick Brew template, or you can still use clipboard. I prefer to use Quick Brew. And I remember in all of your training, we don't discuss anything about Quick Brew seriously, so I prepare for you additional presentation talking about, you remember I sent you once, a small presentation talking about Quick Brew. Because I remember this was an important remark from Mr. Atif, he said, yeah, I want an easy way. And I want a short presentation talking how to use Quick Brew. I will add it, and if we have time in the advanced course, we'll talk about it. Again, the lens. You remember our friend, small kid's name, lens. Don't forget, make your lens sheet. I will tell you a very good example which started from Mr. Dinan. He started and he sent me a very nice Excel sheet. I shared with Abdullah. And Abdullah really improved. Then I shared with Mr. Atif. And Mr. Atif really improved. You will see your Excel sheet now is now a good example for many years. Thank you. Yeah. He already did the idea of this. I have my own style to doing the Excel documentation for lens. But what Dinal did is much better than me, to be very honest. And we use it with Rajesh. Rajesh already did the installation.
He did? Start?
He already finished. He already created a UMGI cluster, and he is now in a BMS connector phase. He already did, if I have time, I will show you the photos that how secure his installation is. He has 2 nodes connected via UMGI with 4 BIRs. But you cannot see any cable. You cannot see anything. If you look, you will just see a black box. He even bring his own tape to cover any color which is not black. So just to see a black box. Unfortunately, he could not join us. He was one of the basic candidates who should attend this course, but unfortunately, his company decided not. Also, we can use range programming, as I said, or Quick Brew. After you finish the programming, you have to make busy release. You have to, because by default everything is blocked. Nothing programmed in 95, right? Make busy release the trunk, make busy release for range, or for complete route. Important subject, that's for the people who will have a multiple routes. If, let's say, in Abdullah case, you have 2 routes, but which one you will decide, which is, how you will identify later this is a guest or admin. So you can use command ADRTN and write, this is a guest route. So later, after 5 years, once you go for a lot of sites, you will not really remember by heart that route 120 is used for, or route 10 is used for guest. So you can just write a simple name here, it will be easier for you to remember. Even, you will see this small indication, if you like or not, in the D10 display. Any question? Any question? What I did, within half an hour, I revised the complete 2 days in the basic course. At least now you understand this ERTIN and the RTDM basic parameter or common use parameter will do. For more information, again, for the numbering plan, I don't like the word numbering plan, but the people from Netherlands, they insist to use it. It's my real routing table. Yes, I'm creating my routing table, but I'm depending on my numbering plan. So the right word for me is my routing tables. Start that. Here, I will just drill a little bit further than what we did in the basic course. Little bit further.
Excuse me, regarding the CDN, we just talking about few of them, but there is another CDN which
Yes.
is important.
No.
Right? Like I think the number 64, when we want to decide the long of the digits,
Yes, this is
15
what
or
discussed in
4.
the SDM part. I don't add it here because it's not common for all kind of fruits.
Mm.
This is the common for each and every kind of fruit. But once we're talking about CCI specifically, we'll touch the parameter again, which touch the CCI specifically. Once we talk about MG7, we'll do the same. But here is the real common
Ah.
that's used for each and every root. So, AMBDM, I'm going to use this digit in my system. 9, is it used in my system or not? In how many call condition or call index I have to decide? On the normal?
No, three.
No. 3.
Which,
Three. Normal.
BC and
okay.
one hook. Yeah.
Yeah, hooking mean, what mean in the call index hooking? What busy
Hook
condition?
flash, right?
Yeah, hook flash.
Hook flash.
That means I receive something, I have active code, then I press transfer or hold, and then I'm hooking condition. Now,
In order to send a status or feature.
or the access code.
Okay.
Busy mean, if I call Abdullah and Abdullah is busy, and I receive a busy tune, not a reorder tool, it's a busy tune that Abdullah indicates that he is busy, I have to prepare my call index. So this is again, sometime you notice that the manual said, please do it only for normal. Please do it only for hooking. Because you cannot make a call back for someone the normal mood. You can make it only if he's busy. No need to define it in hooking, no need to define it in normal. And again, you have to be very specific in this subject about your number and land. You don't need just to make a blank record that you don't use. Make a record that you really need. Tenant number. Again, my access code 0 or 9 and normal hooking busy. And number of digits. This is again not the maximum, this is the minimum. That means I have extension 2000 and I have extension 220, 220. So what's the minimum number of digits? 3 digits, not 4 digits. So here, in MBDN, I'm deciding the minimum, not the maximum number of digits. Somewhere else, we decide the maximum number. But here, in MBDN, if I have variable length of the leading digit, I have to set here the minimum. I see one mistake for one illustration that he decided to have 9. Then in 9 he put 6 digits. So the system was waiting for 6 digits to come before he gave the second there. So he was a little bit confused. 9056. Once he did the digit 6, the system give the error and he continued.
He will never reach the
He reached, but the problem
It's timely.
the time delay, and it's a bit confusing that the system is very stupid that he delay after the 6th digit, and we could find that it was a mistake of EMBDN. And also, you will understand the logic behind EMBDN soon. Why?
We face this problem with, I discussed with you.
Yeah,
We are in the 9th floor, 4 digit,
this is part
10th
of
floor, it's
this,
about
this is part of the
5
hotel
digits.
course.
Yeah.
This is part of the hotel course.
So-
Very late.
About the NND, you have to put
Yes.
2 digit or 3 digit.
Also, this is required for if you have a attendant console. I know in many military places they still use attendant console. Military guys, they don't like to have the software for outside. Because they say, yeah, if we just integrate with our database, that means our database will go one day for an AC. We don't like this. So some military still, they know the beauty and the logic, the good thing to use BC-based operator, but they don't like. They develop their own BC-based operator. They develop their own BCT. They don't need an EC to give them, especially for military. I know from the Chinese territories, they have at least 4 or 5 solutions which they develop by themselves or as United.
Can we use any type of digital form for the operator? Can we
Yes, in the case of if you have CTI,
CTI?
but